So if any of you recognized that tune, it is Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. So I'd like to invite you to rise in body, mind, or spirit as a way of inviting us into this time together to
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. It's good to be here and to be with you. My name is Audrey Lanford, and don't let the Dorothy costume fool you. My pronouns are they and them. And I'm a member of the UU Fellowship of Clemson's Worship Associate team. Today is a multi-gen service for Halloween that welcomes all ages to stay and participate in service. With that said, we have a special welcome. This is Welcome to All Manner of Creatures by Christian Schmidt. No matter who or what you are welcome here. Let's be clear. Here we welcome goblins and ghouls, saints and sinners, angels and devils, zombies and werewolves, vampires and witches. We welcome princesses and princes, paupers and farmhands, aliens and astronauts, robots and cyborgs, firefighters and police officers, nurses and doctors, cowboys, cowgirls, cowfolk of all varieties. We welcome Superman, Wonder Woman, Black Panther, Batman, Spider-Man, Black Widow, and Thor. Indeed, we welcome both superheroes and superstars. In short, we welcome people, monsters, and all manner of creatures. Here we welcome you and all of who and what you are. Welcome. Let us begin. We have a few announcements today. On Tuesday, October 28th at 7, during our regular meditation night, after a 30-minute sitting meditation, Sensei Sean Murphy will join us via Zoom to talk a little about his book on the coming of Zen Buddhism to the U.S. and its subsequent growth. If you'd like to join us via Zoom, send a text to Daryl Yardley. His number is in the directory and in the newsletter. Thursday, November 27th at 1:30, we have Thanksgiving Day dinner at UUFC. Members and friends are welcome to reserve a spot for dinner here at UUFC at 1:30 for greetings and dining shortly afterward. Please reserve your space no later than November 15th. Seating is limited. Contact Barbara Stroop via email or text to reserve your spot and choose the dish you will contribute.
Yes. Okay. So you're just going to have to make sure you project a little. Okay. So I would like to welcome you as well. It is lovely to see you here, some in costume and some not, to answer the burning question. I am a chalice this morning. I tried to think of the most UU thing I could possibly be. So, with that said, I would like to invite you into a spirit of worship this morning with some opening words that are also kind of like our chalice lighting, but I thought they were very appropriate for today, so we're going to use those and still do our affirmation in chalice lighting. Playing with fire is a delight. Imagine being gathered around the fire pit as the crackling flames invite us to sing, dance, and roast a marshmallow or two. Our chalice also invites us to play, although with ideas rather than with marshmallows. The flame encourages us to explore who we light our chalice in the spirit of play. Let us trust that the light will guide us in this hour and in the days to come, finding joy along the way. And so I invite you to rise in body, mind, or spirit again to sing number 1 in the gray hymnal. It'll also be up on the screens of May Nothing Evil Cross the Store. And at this time, I'd like to ask Cody to come up and light the chalice. Now let us share in the reading of this fellowship's affirmation that is shared in the order of service. She looks wonderful. We gather together in a spirit of love, with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth with freedom, and to care for one another.
Okay, our story this morning is about a witch. I am not a witch. See the ears? Okay, for the holidays, this is a story that we used a couple weeks ago with our kids in their religious exploration space, talking about pluralism, which is our theme that we've been exploring this month as one of our UU values. So this morning's story is Room on the Broom by Julia Donaldson and Axel. Grinned as they sat on their broomstick and flew through the wind. But how the witch wailed and how the cat spat when the wind blew so wildly it blew the hat off. Down, cried the witch, and they flew to the ground. They searched for the hat, but no hat could be found. Then out of the bushes on thundering paws, there bounded a dog with the hat in his jaws. He dropped it politely, then eagerly said, as the witch pulled the hat down firmly on her head, I am a dog as keen as can be. Is there room on the broom for a dog like me? Yes, cried the witch, and the dog clambered on. The witch tapped the broomstick, and whoosh, they were gone. Over the fields and the forest they flew. The dog wagged his tail, and the stormy wind blew. The witch laughed out loud and held on to her hat, but away blew the bow from her braid, just like that. Down, cried the witch, and they flew to the ground. They searched for the bow, but no bow could be found. Then out from a tree with an ear-splitting shriek, there flapped a green bird with a bow in her beak. She dropped it politely and bent her head low, then said, as the witch tied the bow, her braid in the bow, I am a bird as green as can be. Is there room on the broom for a bird like me? Yes, cried the witch, so the bird fluttered on. The witch tapped the broomstick, and whoosh, they were gone. Over the reeds and the rivers they flew. The bird shrieked with glee, and the stormy wind blew. They shot through the sky to the back of beyond. The witch clutched her bow, but let go of her wand. Down, cried the witch, and they flew to the ground. They searched for the wand, but no wand could be found. Then all of a sudden, from out of the pond leaped a dripping wet frog with a dripping wet wand. He dropped it politely, then said with a croak, as the witch dried the wand on the fold of her cloak, I am a frog as clean as can be. Is there room on the broom for a frog like me? Yes, said the witch, so the frog bounded on. The witch tapped the broomstick, and whoosh, they were gone. Over the moors and the mountains they flew. The frog jumped for joy, and the broom snapped in two. Down fell the cat and the dog and the frog. Down they went tumbling into the bog. The witch's half broomstick flew into a cloud, and the witch heard a roar that was scary and loud. I am a dragon as mean as can be, and which with French fries tastes delicious to me. No, cried the witch, flying higher and higher. The dragon flew after her, breathing out fire. Help, cried the witch, flying down to the ground. She looked all around, but no help could be found. The dragon drew near with a glint in his eyes and said, just this once I'll have witch with no fries. But just as he planned to begin on his feast, from out of a ditch rose a horrible beast. It was tall, dark, and sticky, and feathered and furred. It had 4 frightful heads. It had wings like a bird. And its terrible voice, when it started to speak, was a yowl and a growl and a croak and a shriek. It dripped and it squelched as it strode from the ditch, and it said to the dragon, buzz off, that's my witch. The dragon drew back and he started to shake. I'm sorry, he spluttered. I made a mistake. It's nice to have met you, but now I must fly. And he spread out his wings and was off through the sky. Then down flew the bird and down jumped the frog. Down climbed the cat and whew, said the dog. And thank you, oh thank you, the grateful witch cried. Without you, I'd be in that dragon's inside. Then she filled up her cauldron and said with a grin, find something, everyone, throw something in. So the frog found a lily, the cat found a cone, the bird found a twig, and the dog found a bone. They threw them all in, and the witch stirred them well, and while she was stirring, she muttered a spell. Iggity, ziggity, zaggity, zoom. Then out rose a truly magnificent broom, with seats for the witch and the cat and the dog, a nest for the bird, and a pool for the frog. Yes, cried the witch, and they all clambered on. The witch tapped the broomstick, and whoosh, they were gone.
This is the time we set aside for the offering in order to give toward the financial vitality of this community. Also, 25% of the undesignated collection each week goes to an organization in the local community that we partner with. For the month of October, we are partnering with Ripple of One. Each week, we also collect non-perishable food for the Clemson Community Cares Food Bank. In anticipation of the continued government shutdown and the end to SNAP benefits, there has been a special request to hold a food drive. As we coordinate with other area churches, please consider how we might help meet these needs in the community through such mutual aid. Reverend Holly will share more information this week. You may also give the button. There you will see options for paying your pledge and donating towards the organizations we partner with. Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you again for your generosity this morning. So you're going to have an extra stewardship. As of this Friday, we have received $120,000, which is 57% of the amount that we're hoping to achieve with our stewardship campaign. And that's just 1 week into the campaign, which is amazing. Net of people that have pledged. And how large or how small their pledge is, whether it is your gifts of time and talent and whatever you can financially give. So, each week we are also going to be doing a visual representation of this giving. And I introduced it to some of you last week, and if you weren't here, this represents our 6 value statements with love at the center. And so you have justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and transformation. Yes. There's a mnemonic device of JetPig that I think through to get the things out, just in case anybody else needs that. But when we introduced this, it was going to be an opportunity for each of us that have given over the next few weeks, and for our young folks last week during their RE spaces, talking about pluralism, they had an opportunity to write on ribbons as well. And then each of the balls representing $10,000 towards our goal. So I've asked the kids, do y'all hear me? Hello? I asked them beforehand, would each of you pick up one of the ribbons or a couple of ribbons if there's any left over? them up and help me wrap them around the post here so we can see some of those that have given. Now, if you have already turned in your pledge, there is a basket on the table down the hall with some markers, and invite multiple people to put their names on the same piece of ribbon so that we can add it and it be long enough for us to weave around these poles. Now, since last week, we've had more given, so I've also asked the kids if they would place the 3 balls that I just handed them into the basket as well. Yes. Thank you so much. Y'all did a beautiful job. Yes. So, then I am inviting Emily to come forward and share a little bit of a testimonial about her involvement.
Hi, I'm Emily. I use she, her pronouns. I am a woman in my 20s with long dark hair and a tired look in my eye. I have been going here for over 20 years, and I have been in the RE program for over 20 years. And that's not because I flunked out. I passed. There's no test, but I passed. And it's been really important to me throughout my life, and I'm not just saying that because the Lifespan Faith Formation person is my mother. She did not put me up to this. I'm saying this completely separately. Growing up, it was really nice to have a space where I could sort of learn my own spiritual needs, learn about what it meant to be UU, learn both and also world religions as well, because those are all part of the curriculum. And it's really helped me throughout my life to really recognize this is what I need in order to feel fulfilled. This is what it means to be UU, even as that definition has changed over 20 years. And additionally, what it means to what perspectives from different world religions as well, especially as I encounter different people in my life. The number of people I've met who are surprised just because I know what Yom Kippur is, or the 5 pillars of Islam, or the transubstantiation is shocking. But it's really helped me too, and especially when I come into conversations with other people about their own faiths going forward. And it's not just sort of as you're growing up, this is what it means to be you, but also it's the OWL programs, which if you don't know what that is, it's Our Whole Lives, which is a sex education program. And that was done, I did it when I was in middle school, but they have programs for like everyone from like really kindergarten age kids up until older adults. And it was really great because it gave me a space over a long term to sort of like learn about different things, especially as a queer woman, that I would not have learned in my school in South Carolina. They just didn't think they would needed to cover it there. And so it was nice to have a space where I could ask safe questions, especially, and we would just sit around and have pizza and be like, so what about this? And it was really nice. And it helped me sort of like navigate my life later in life. And also, I would love to do it again with a different. It's, as an adult now, I'm now like not going back into the classroom with the kids, but I still do RE programs. There's still continuing education into adulthood, and there's still lots of like faith formation. And it's really nice to have a space where I can like come and I can grow, because as much as I would like to say that I am the epitome of a person, I have learned everything. And especially if you ask me about something like my special interests, I will talk to you like I know everything about disease. I don't. But it's really nice to come to a space where I'm challenged and I can continue to grow and question things that I assumed, or question things, or have a space to really be like, okay, what do I need? And more spiritually fulfilled. And that is my plug for why RE is important. And I think that I have an authority on it because I have been in the RE program at this congregation for 20 years. And it's not because I flunked out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. So each week we take time to share our joys and concerns, and it looks like there are a lot of them this week. So it isn't 17, which was the highest number we've had. But it might be a little bit longer, but it is important for us to share our joys and our sorrows, our concerns with one another. So I have a joy from Ellen Few that she is happy to be back after a lengthy illness and a fall. She said her old bones and muscles are healing. That's great. Yes. And on the other side of that, Ellen Few shares a concern that she was just diagnosed with, I'm going to try not to butcher the scientific name, eosinophilic asthma. That's a significant type of asthma. And the monthly cost for her medicine is $3,700 per month, and Medicare doesn't cover it. So, have note from Sarah McNeil about Carol Ward being in Oconee Hospital for some routine work, and she would enjoy visitors. She is in room 633. And Carrie Moss shares a joy that we had a lovely circle dinner at Rosie's house last night. Yes. And Cody has a joy that I got to dress up like a witch, and my mom is a crow for service today. Yes. Joe Gelliard shares a sorrow at the passing of her father and a joy at the support that she's received from my work and church family. Alan shares that Dana is in the hospital in the hospital again for thyroid issues. She is fine overall, but some prayers would be welcome. had one support submitted on our online form from John Haynes, a celebration that I finally made my bucket list of 20 gallons of blood donated. Now it's time to reset the goal. And finally, I have a joy from Alan that thanks to everyone who attended UUFC Plays last Tuesday. I don't think that I've ever spent a morning laughing as hard and as much as I did at our meeting. One thing I won't soon forget is Audrey Lanford's brilliant imitation of a Roomba vacuum cleaner. I might have to see a recreation of this. It's to our hearts, and for those that are not with us and able to share their For our reading today, I have a quote from the late, great poet Andrea Gibson. The more we change, the more we must commit to loving the people we were before we changed. The most transformative moment in my journey these past years was realizing that new me wasn't extending love to old me. This realization hit me in the middle of the night. I woke up and saw that I didn't just dislike old me. I was terrified of old me. I feared returning to being anxious, blaming, defensive, and closed off. That night, I began to understand something profoundly powerful. In rejecting who I had been, in pushing that person away, I was caught in a resistance that would do nothing but recreate old me. The harder I tried to sever my ties with the person I had been, the more I found myself embodying that self. Only when I began to offer old me compassion, kindness, and love did a more permeating sense of freedom begin to emerge. When we hate ourselves, we suck all of the air and light out of the room of our being, and nothing can grow without air and light. As I reflect on this journey, I see that true healing requires integration, not rejection. The path to becoming more open doesn't lie in casting aside the versions of ourselves we no longer wish to be. It lies in honoring them, thanking them, and embracing them with tenderness. Each version of us is a stepping stone, a necessary chapter in the unfolding story of who we are. Thank you. Now, I want to take a moment to reflect back on what Audrey just shared. This idea of our old self and our new self, showing compassion and recognizing that change can happen within us over time. Has anybody here ever experienced change? I hope everybody has on some level. Now, as the hymn, our gathering hymn this morning, reminds us in one of the verses, did y'all catch the verse that says, "Don't be afraid of some change"? Of who we were and an acceptance of who we are becoming. And it doesn't mean that we completely let go of who we are, but showing some compassion and acceptance of who we were. Letting go of the things that no longer serve us. So, you might be wondering, what to use our creativity or our imaginations helps with the growth process. And it might help us develop some costumes or allow our imaginations to consider what kind of superhero or shark or witch or crow or Dorothy or are you a stormtrooper? Yes, or stormtrooper of those that are among us. Who had to use some imagination to think of costumes, whether today, what you're wearing, or in any point in your life? If y'all had to use some imagination? Yes, I got to play with felt and a folded in half hula hoop to make myself into a chalice. I was struggling with what to dress up as, and then I was like, well, what is the most you thing I could possibly be? Well, this is what I came up with. But these things, while it's just once or a few times within the week of Halloween that you get a chance to dress up or to brainstorm and have ideas about what we might like to be in the world, if our wildest imaginations could be made real. There are other types of masks and costumes that we wear that are a little less obvious. Perhaps in the last few years you have heard the term masking for those that suffer from chronic pain or deal with depression or anxiety or ADHD or autism, and all of these different areas. Often there is a form of masking, of not wanting to let people know what you're going through, or to actually seems like a fitting time to mention a Christmas movie. Because why not, right? So several years ago, as I was first becoming Unitarian Universalist and my brother learned about where I was going and what I was and realized that there are probably quite a good number of us that are ADHD or that have anxiety or autistic or have one of these many other things going on in our lives. And the beauty of UU spaces is often that those individuals that might feel like they have to mask out in the wider world can let that mask down, to take off that costume that they have to wear out in the world and allow themselves to be who they are, misfits and all. But the idea of unmasking can be scary because it requires change, right? That change of letting go of who we were and a willingness to be vulnerable with others in our lives. Have any of you ever heard the saying, and I hope some of you have, that to dress for the job you want? So like if you're going for a job interview, that you dress the way that you feel like you must for that job. Or the idea of fake it till you make it, right? This idea that we can become who is expected of us. So one other question that I have is, if any of you grew up in any religious tradition, did you have, or maybe have just heard the saying, if you were not raised in a religious tradition, of wearing your Sunday best? Now, one of the first things I noticed when I came into a Unitarian Universalist congregation many years ago was the folks wearing at the churches I grew up in, of course, unless it involved wearing a robe for the choir or to be an acolyte, those kinds of things that you wore as kind of costumes, although they might find that offensive. But a way of presenting oneself. And so with the idea of how we present ourselves and the ways we might dress up for special occasions, like the Sunday before Halloween, I want to invite anyone that has a Halloween costume or anybody that is wearing Halloween-themed clothing. So if you're wearing pumpkins or skeletons or any number of or special earrings or anything that you feel like is Halloween-esque, or dressed up in whatever way you would like to present, I'm going to ask Cory if he'll play a little bit of Halloween-esque music, while you are invited to come around and kind of pause in the front and then work your way back around to your seats so we can share and show off what our costumes are this year. Thank you all for your willingness to play along, and play is so important. You know, Alan over here came up with this idea for the play group and did a service about play summer before last, I think, is that right? And having services like this allow us as people of all ages to come together and have a little bit of fun. Did any of you grow up in a religious tradition where they often had fun? Yes, a UU tradition. Yes, okay, a couple of you. So, Being able to come into spaces like this where we might be able to drop our mask or the day-to-day costumes in ways that allow us to be ourselves, offer us a level of protection or trying on new aspects of ourselves that may require vulnerability. We don't know how it will go, but self-compassion, have y'all ever thought about that? Self-compassion can go a really long way as we explore who we are. Sometimes it takes someone else holding up a mirror. Have y'all ever had a friend or someone in your life hold up a mirror to who you are rather than who you were? Or, as I've heard some people say, stop being mean to my friend. Meaning, you're being mean to yourself, and I want you to stop being mean to my friend. Or, also have heard, if I was saying this, if I was going through whatever issue it is and was kind of berating myself for not doing the right thing, what would you tell me? Because we're often harder on ourselves than we are on anyone else. And making yourself pause and think about, what would I say to someone else? Would I be as harsh on them as I am being on myself? And being able to do that in community for one another, to be in spaces where we can check in. It is an opportunity for us to tongue-tied, to cultivate a deeper sense of community. Because when we can bring our whole selves, the funny, the sad, the dyslexic, the ADHD, whatever part of us that we might be too vulnerable to show out in the wider world, especially at our jobs or with some of our family, that we can be together. Now, in the congregations that I grew up in, and perhaps many of you as well, and I've even heard this sentiment in UU congregations of children should be seen and not heard. I love that I can hear the murmuring of our kids being able to explore and be in a space with us, to have engagement in service, whether it is our Wonder Box or building our basket. Being able to have kids feel like they belong is so vital. Because there is a chance that a young person like Emily could go off after they finish their time growing up in an RE program and never come back. Go to college and then we don't see them again. Or maybe if they have kids later in life, they come back. But there's this like kind of cliff effect, because if we don't engage our children in our services when we can, or allow them to be themselves in our spaces, then if they are always back in their learning spaces and not in service with us, the issue becomes when they get to be adults and they come in here and they're like, what is this? This isn't what I experienced in RE. This isn't an embodied understanding of Unitarian Universalism. That's why we lose a lot of our kids. And so the model of how we do RE and how we do multi-generational services is changing. When I first started as a UU, I was in a church that had a multi-generational service once a month because that's when the RE, the director, was off, and the minister did not change anything about the service. And then somebody complained the kids were wandering around and being noisy. So I'm glad we don't do that here. I was so excited when I found out that not only do y'all have the kids do the chalice lighting, but they stay in for joys and concerns so they can be engaged. Community for all of us, of all ages. Creating spaces with our circle dinners or our various different activities that happen throughout the year, or how we build those muscles of compassion, that we cultivate that, not just for ourselves, but for others, that allow us to let down that mask at least a little bit. May you feel that this place, this space, is here for you in that way. May it be a place where you can be yourself. May it be so. May we make it so. And blessed be. So, we have one of my favorite songs as one to move around to, or engage your bodies, or shout, or do whatever feels comfortable for you, called When the Spirit Says Do. It's in the teal hymnal, and so when it says laugh, if you want to laugh like a big belly laugh, ha ha ha, or dance when it says dance and move around, you don't have to, but if you want to, you're welcome to do so. And maybe next year I need to do a poll, because when I talked to Cory about doing this song, I was trying to think of couldn't come up with as many, and so we're gonna do it the way it's written. I know, sadness. But I invite you all to rise in body, mind, or spirit wherever you are, and join in singing in whatever way is comfortable and fun for your bodies.
Spirit
Thank y'all. I love the different laughs that I heard. One was, I think, more like a Santa Claus belly laugh. It is so beautiful to see the engagement, because we've all been at places where we're not allowed to let loose and play. So as we leave this place today, as we extinguish our chalice in this week of Halloween coming up, I invite you to find ways to play, to enjoy the spirit of the season of being able to explore different parts of ourselves, whether it involves cartoon movies or involves dressing up or handing out candy or any of those ways of being. And as you go, there is a lot of really wonderful looking Halloween treats and a Halloween party in the social hall that I hope you will partake in. And now I invite you to go in peace and return in love.